Okay, so for this resource we're going to be looking at the plane director in relation to a hyperbolic paraboloid. So for this resource I chose to use a 3D physical model, as I feel that it's going to engage the students more and give them more real life view of the planes and the plane director and the actual creation of the hyperbolic paraboloid using the plane director, and just give the students a more real life view of it rather than a SOLIDWORKS view where maybe some students might still find it confusing and difficult to relate to, especially if they haven't used SOLIDWORKS before. So the first thing we're going to be looking at is our two drawings here. It's the same picture in two different planes. So we have our elevation here where we can see our VTHT in elevation and plan. They're labelled here, here and here. And then along our X line we can see the two planes. So we can see how our plane director is the same in both views, but it's just two different views of it, so students should be familiar with that. And then we can see in our perspective view how the VTHT and that plane director sits on the planes, and where our plane director line is right here. So we can see that line in all of our views, and we can see how points C and D sit on it, and they are starting points for our plane director. So now we're going to look at our physical model, and as we can see here, this line we can see labelled C here and labelled D here, and we can look at our paraboloid from our last question, our hyperbolic paraboloid from our last question, and we can see point C and D marked there and there. So when we're generating our lines for the hyperbolic paraboloid, we can see where the plane director starts here, C and D, and then these points will move along the two planes, and we can plot each of our points. So each of the yellow points here, the pink points here, are plotted from using that plane director. So now when we look back at our drawing, we can see how we know how it's done, but we see now how the plane director is shaped differently. So the reason for this is the plane director can move at different speeds. So C might be moving at a different speed than D, so that'll give us this irregular shape, and that can lead to the different shapes that we have in our paraboloids.